What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're working on this Ford F-150, one of the newer style models, and we're actually doing a 3.5 on it. So we started working on the front already, started tearing some of the stuff apart. I don't have any of the parts on here just yet, but just a quick reference on these newer style Fords. We have obviously your spindle and hub, bottom ball joint, upper ball joint, stock spring, stock strut, upper control arm, upper control arm, lower control arm. So then we got the brake calipers secured, no stress on this brake line, and the sway bar links. So this is pretty much how this truck is set up. Very clean truck. It's gonna look real good. I'll drop a picture of how it looked when it came in right now. Pretty much what we're installing today is going to be the IHT kit, 3.5. I'm going to show you guys what it's consisting of, so you guys can get an idea of when you order that kit. So this is pretty much what the upper and lower control arms looks like from the NS kit. We have your driver side, passenger side. We have the ball joints, or the fittings and hardware for the ball joints and Loctite as well. Then we have the lowers, has this hardware already as well, bushings, the nuts and all that stuff, and this alignment spacers as well. They pretty much thought of everything to make it fit so that the spindle, when it sits inside the sleeve, doesn't have any kind of wibble wobble or anything like that. So it's looking pretty good, guys. Honestly, this would be the first time that we installed the NS kit on the Fords. We've done pretty much most NS kits on Chevys and Dodge, but never on a Ford. So alright, so it's here we got the back kit, which is consisting of a flip kit, the bottom plates. These trucks do have round U-bolts, so you're not going to need the top plate with the square U-bolt, and the lift shackles to pick it back up. You notice right here there's this little crease on this piece right here. More than likely that's there to kind of like clear a shock bracket or shock bolt. So that's pretty much why that has that on there, but it's looking good. Let's get this kit installed and see how it ends up coming out. So the first thing I normally like to do is to pretty much take the sway bar links off and take the brake calipers, bottom ball joint, top ball joint bolts off. First thing is always taking off this tie rod. Then you're able to swing the spindle left to right. Then you pull off the sway bar because it's attached to here. Then you pull off the bolt from here, and then the brake caliper bolts as well after that. And then you're pretty much already set up to where I'm at. Very easy, very simple. It does have a 10mm here holding the wires. You do have to unplug some of the stuff that's very far back here. That's why my light is all the way back here, but that's pretty much the nitty-gritty stuff, just to kind of get the wires out of the way as well, because this is all the way tucked up inside there. But once you pull all that stuff off, it's a lot easier. Now all I have to do is first we'll unbolt the bottom control arm from there, from those 2 points on the frame. And then once we have them unbolted from there, we start unbolting these from the bottom, and then that'll allow for the control arm to fall in place freely, and you're able to slide it out. For the upper control arm, you have to get a wrench, or if you have a ratchet wrench, pull those off as well. And then once you have the bolts loose, then you have to pull off the top bolts so that this can come down, and then you slide the bolts out. And the first thing you'll put back on will always be the upper control arm, so that you're not worrying about like, oh, I put all this stuff on and then now I have to take it all apart to slide the bolt back in. but you can see that the bolts are in there. They'll slide in. So if you guys are new to something like this, you know, it is a pretty simple task, but you do need experience. You do need the right tools in order to get it done right and efficiently. If not, you're going to be here a whole 2 days or a day and a half trying to get all this done. But just kind of a quick reference. I'm not going to show you everything I do, but I wanted to show you guys what I normally do, so that you guys have an idea when you want to do it, you're not lost. And if you get lost, you can always come back to this video and see what you have to do. Alright guys, so we got the whole suspension pulled off. No control arms anymore, no strut, nothing. First things first, like I said, we got to put this control arm on there. You do want to make sure that you add the grease fittings beforehand, so that you're not struggling trying to add them while you have it on the truck. And then as well to add grease on the side bushings, just to assure that you're not going to have any kind of squeak or whatever. Most of the time the grease comes out from here, or it goes in through here and it comes out through there to lubricate that, but sometimes the grease takes forever to come out that way. So you just want to make sure you grease that up beforehand, so it makes it to where the installation doesn't require grease right away. But we're gonna throw this on here. Let me just put it all back together and I'll come back when it's just done. Alright guys, so quick update. We finished this side already and we started on the other side. But so we got the arms on there. They're looking good. Bottom control arm, tie rod, stuff to do alignment afterwards. Everything's back in place. I double check, make sure everything that we took off is bolted on and tightened up, so that we don't leave anything astray. So a couple things that I wanted to show you before we move on the video. So now that we have these installed, you want to make sure that you always put this washer that they give you. All this is pretty much doing kind of saving the aluminum from being bit up by the nut, and as well working as a spacer to allow for the cotter pin to go in here in the right position, and that's pretty much gonna make it to where it'll function right. Anything else? Okay, so the next thing would be the struts. So the struts on the original struts, it has a stud mount. It's gonna be kind of hard to see right here, but they give you the hardware right here, so you push out the studs that it has, the original ones, and then you put their hardware. And once it's on there, it sits pretty nice. It also does come with a sleeve that goes inside of the spindle, and I'll show you that right now on the next side. That's why I kind of just stopped and I was like, let me record before I forget. And once we have this in here, it does say to put Loctite. Didn't give me a cotter pin, but we're gonna torque this down. Once we torque it down, I'm gonna see if I'm able to put a cotter pin in between, just to kind of keep that in the safe side. And if you have the chance to put the cotter pin in there, that's perfect. It does have a locking like a locking washer that kind of stops this from spinning on its own, so that's pretty good. But we still put Loctite as well, just to make sure. But let me show you the rest of the stuff that I was talking about. So this right here is the studs that I was talking about, the original struts on the 2021, which it is a 2021. These have the studs right here, so if you can see that part right there will eventually have to come off. So what we're doing is just pretty much just beating this out, so that once it's kicked out like halfway, we're able to just give it a real good swing and it'll come off. And once you have that off, once you put the new hardware, you won't need this at all. So you can scrap that, or you can keep it for later, but you're gonna pretty much beat the ends up anyways. You can always save it by cutting it again and then just kind of like smoothing it out, and then you're able to put these back on. But I wouldn't. I would just, if you end up going back to stock, I would just replace it with a new strut. So as you guys can see right here, this right here is not actually a part of the ball joint. This is like an extra sleeve, and you see there's a thread. You have to make sure that you put the thread lock on the whole threads right here, just because you don't know where it's actually going to sit at. But this right here is like some sort of like sleeve and this will actually sit inside the spindle when you pull off that ball joint. And the reason why they do this, I'm assuming it's because the spindle, either the ball joint is not big enough on their kit to sit inside that spindle, so they add this sleeve, and this sleeve alone will pretty much make up for that extra space that it needs, which is not very much, but it's just enough to kind of like get that wibble or the wiggle out of that ball joint. So that's pretty smart. You know, it'll slide right in and it'll taper itself back on there. Once you slide the ball joint in there, it'll sit real nice and tight, so it doesn't wiggle around at all. You can't even tell that this thing is on there, and I don't think that this thing will actually wear out. More than likely it will probably rust out because it does look like it's mild steel, but I don't think that should be an issue. So we'll see how this goes. Later on we'll plan for a future update on the truck and see how everything's performing. You know, we did add Loctite to these bolts as well and nuts, just to kind of keep that on the safe side as well. We don't add the Loctite to the alignment cams or the alignment bolts just because those end up coming off anyways. But once we put everything back together, we torque it to the factory specs, and then we make sure that everything is good to go. Now another thing before we end up wrapping it up on the front, there is an alignment cam kit that they sell, which will eventually be sort of like a offset bolt and an offset nut. And that pretty much, what that does is it allows like OEM style alignment. And so if you're looking at this slot, if you're looking at that slot right there, there's a way to go forward and back, but there's nothing locking it in place. So most of the time people say like, oh, you don't need it, and you don't need it. But the thing is that it makes the alignment kind of not unsafe, but unsure that it's going to stay in place. Even if you were to tighten it up really good, you can always hit a bump and it'll knock it off. And then it also makes the life easier on the alignment guy as well. So if you end up getting this kit, make sure you guys go and get that lock. Well, they're like cam bolts or camber kits or whatever you want to call it, and those come with a lock, so that when I turn either left or to right, it actually pushes the control arm forward or back. Right now I'm just doing it manually because he didn't bring me that kit, but if he would have brought me that kit, it would have been a lot easier for when I do the alignment as well. But right now we're just kind of winging it till we get it on the machine, and then once we get it on the machine, it'll be set and ready to go. Alright, so we pulled off the ball joint off the control arm, which is over there, and now all we have to do is just slide this in here like this, and then it's pretty much ready to go. Alright guys, so we started working the back already. This is what we have. So these bolts normally come facing up. Flip that around. Took off these little brackets that it came with, which are these. Those are the original shackles. Took these off. Took that little shim that it had on there as well off. It won't need it anymore. So now we got all this stuff flipped around. The leaf springs are underneath the rear end. Threw in the new shackles. Added some grease as well. It's looking pretty good. It is pretty late now, but try to get it done by the end of tonight so that tomorrow we just come in and do the alignment as well. But it's looking pretty good. In this case, it's going to use the original U-bolts as well, but normally they come horizontal like that, but we're going to make them sit like this now. And that's how they're going to sit, that way. Then the flip kit will sit right here. Bottom plate will sit right here. The bottom plate will sit right here. Alright guys, so we finished up the back. The drop shock is on there. Flip kit is on there. You know, we had a little bit of trouble with the leaf spring stuff, but we got it on there. There was also a big issue with one of the shackles not having one of the right sleeves, but we got that fixed as well. We just have to retap it and re-drill to the right bolt size. But it looks good. Let me see if I can turn on my flash. Yes, I can. Flip kit's on there, U-bolts, shocks, and the shackles back there. Make sure you guys grease up your stuff.
On the track, I'm going vroom vroom. Try and catch me when I pull up in a zoom zoom. Oh no, please don't make that call. Me don't want no cause, they ain't ready for the cause. Ooh baby, on the track, I'm going vroom vroom. Try to catch me when I pull up in a zoom zoom. Ooh boy.
Alright guys, so we got her on the alignment rack. We're doing the alignment right now as we speak, and we'll take a look at the graph and see how it came out. I did this measurements, or just when I threw them on the control arms, I pretty much shoved them all the way in to get the most amount of positive camber, so it makes it easier for when I'm actually doing the alignment. So that's why you see positive 8, positive 0.8, and then 1.1 positive on the right side as well. So the essential alignment is to get this section right here to as close as possible to the center line, and these right here are the most important pieces. Those two are the ones that determine the travel, if you're going to pull to the left or you're going to pull to the right, or if you're going to drive straight. But these top 3 are the most important, plus this one right here, and then these bottom 3. These 2 right here in the middle you don't have to worry about, like the cross camber or the cross caster or whatever. That's the one. The caster is the one that you don't have to worry about. So as long as we get camber and overall camber in the middle straight, overall camber, overall caster in the middle straight, and the toe, we're good to go. So we're gonna adjust these, and I'll bring you back when I'm done. Alright guys, so quick breakthrough, or quick breakdown of how it ended up being. It's pretty much as good as possible as I could get it. This right here, camber, perfect. Overall caster, perfect. So like I said, as long as these 2 match it, this will get, this pretty much like this measurement right here plus this will overall this plus this will overall that, and pretty much this is the toe. Everything looks good, truss angle looks good, everything's in the green except for the caster. And if you guys are wondering why these will always be on the red, it's because these are OEM or dealership specs. So dealership will automatically think, or the machine will think, that if the truck is stock height, it wants the stock height caster angle. So you don't necessarily need that. You just need it to be overall center so it doesn't pull left to right. So this is as good as it's gonna get. It wasn't too hard because it is a brand new vehicle. Most of the parts are still good on there, so it's looking pretty good as far as the alignment goes. I'm gonna bring her down so you guys can see how it looks on the ground, because this angle doesn't look too good. Well guys, there she is, final stage. 3 in the front, 5 in the back. It's looking good. We did the test drive already. It feels pretty good. It does have a good rebound feeling in the back. Sometimes people interpret that as like being too stiff, but I believe that that's because of the big leaf spring that it has, instead of the traditional 3 leaf springs that the Fords used to come with. Now they're coming out with 1 big leaf spring and a real thick one for the bottom. I believe you guys saw that big leaf spring when we started doing the flip kit. So That being said, alignment came out good. It drives really straight. Steering wheel is really straight as well. As far as the ride quality, I give it a 8 out of 10. It rides pretty good. It's just that stiff rebound feeling that I get that really bothers me sometimes. You know, I like my rides to be like really smooth, but I honestly think that with some upgraded shocks, it would feel probably 10 times better. But let me know in the comments down below if you guys like the way it came out. The 3.5 from Inez. Their upper control arms, lower control arms, their flip kit, the drop shocks as well. This one did not require the C-notch, and it doesn't bottom out at all, so I think we're good on that end. Oh, and it did have the lift shackles as well. So if you guys like that kit, let me know. We can get it ordered for you. If you guys want to do the drop like this, you can always hit my DMs. Regicide.ss, so you guys can hit my DMs on Instagram. The link is in the description. And I think that's gonna be it for this video, guys. I appreciate you guys stopping by, checking out another one on the channel. Let's hit the road 20K. Let's get it.